This is my Master Duel account 2.5 weeks ago.
Bruh.
And this is my Master Duel account right now.
Wow.
But how did we get here? And why did I make progress so fast?
Why?
You will find it out in this video. If you haven't seen my previous video where I climbed from Rookie into Diamond tier, check that out. Now let's focus on the climb from Diamond to Master 5. In my last video I ended up with this Tearlament budget deck. However, I obtained more gems, bought more packs and pulled more ultra rares to dismantle. So I was able to craft a second copy of Ash Blossom, and the Psychic End Punisher, and Underworld Goddess in the future. Then I played a couple more matches and climbed even higher in the ranks. Then I got even more gems from climbing up in ranks, and I bought another Blue Eyes pack. And not only did I high roll while playing Tearlaments, I also high rolled by opening the packs, and I pulled 5 ultra rares from one single Blue Eyes pack, which is absolutely crazy. I kept the Snatch Steel and the Super Poly and I dismantled the others because those gave me the final ultra rare gems to craft the third copy of Super Poly. And now I ended up with a deck that had 3 Super Poly and 2 Ash Blossom and 3 Maxi as my non-engine. However, this deck was still far from optimized. I looked up some more optimized deck lists at masterduelmeta.com and I found a deck list that I think is really interesting, so I decided to build this deck list. So I think the deck from Skrigon is the most sound deck overall, especially with the reasons given for their own card choices. So no Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom is most of the times just hand dubbing yourself, while majority of the other decks have enough engine to push through one single Ash Blossom. Instead you wanna play Board Breaker, for example the Super Poly, Talents and Droplet. Talents can also punish the opponent for dropping a Maxi going first, because then you can look at the opponent's hand and rip the best card from the opening hand. Talents and Droplet actually complement each other really well, because Talents gives you more card to send for Droplet. And both of them suck if you draw them in multiples, because they are hard ones per turns. Therefore 2 Talents, 2 Droplets and 3 Super Poly, which isn't a hard ones per turn. Also the Deep Sea Prima Donna in the extra deck looks really interesting, because it allows you to make Psychic End Punisher with just a level 4 Destrudo and any card in the opponent's banished pile. And you can banish a card from the opponent really easy with SP Little Knight. So yeah, I think this deck looks really sound and I wanted to craft this deck. However, I ran into some issues. For example, I was missing certain cards, like the Road R, Card Destruction, Foolish Burial, Deep Sea Prima Donna and Typhoon. And speaking about Road R, I told my friend about the cards that are still missing. And he basically responded that Road R is obtainable free to play with one of the Soul World missions. And that was a major breakthrough for me, because not only did I obtain Road R, Raigeki and Monster Reborn completely free to play, I also discovered other missions, for example the Synchro, XYZs, Pendulum and Link Tutorial, rewarding me with 600 gems each. So 4 missions with 600 gems bonus for completion, I ended up with 2400 gems completely free to play. Later I also discovered other missions that reward me with 200 gems each if I complete the 5-star mission with my own deck instead of the given loner deck. And with 2 of those 200 gems missions and 200 gems for logging in, I ended up with 3000 gems completely free to play. So I did a 3000 gem pack opening. If you are not interested in the pack opening, you can just skip this part of the video and go straight to the replays. Now let's jump straight into the pack opening. As you can see, I got extremely lucky with the pack opening. I bought the Duel Pack with the only purpose of trying to pull Typhoon, and I pulled the Typhoon in less than 10 packs. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, now I have Typhoon, I don't have to craft Typhoon anymore, and I have more ultra rare points left to craft ID cards. However, I still don't have enough ultra rare points to craft the card destruction, therefore I just replace the card destruction with a second Destrudo, and I think 2 Destrudo is absolutely correct ratio in Tearlaments. Because I want to draw this card, I want to mill this card, I want to make Baron every time I go first, I want to make Psychic and Punisher every time I go second. And for this reason, I think 2 Destrudo is absolutely correct ratio here in Tearlaments. And for the extra deck, I don't think it's worth crafting Excitonite, so I just replaced the Excitonite with Dark, and I think later I replaced the Dark with Cross Sheep. After I played 2 matches and I missed Cross Sheep going first. So yeah, Cross Sheep, a really solid extra deck monster for going first. It makes the end board so much stronger, basically unbeatable. And this is the final deck list that I ended up with. Now let's go into the replays. Now let's look into my match history and the matches that I played between Diamond 1 and Master 5. So here you can see my match history. I won a bunch of matches, I lost some matches in between of them. Anyways, I still managed to recover from my losses, and I was able to hit Master at the end of my gaming session. So first match. I lost the coin flip and I have to play against Centurion going second. Fortunately, I have the Maxi, which makes going second a little bit easier. But my opponent starts with the Primera, adding the stand up, then stand up, placing Trudea effect. I chain a Maxi, and now my opponent hits me with the Ash Blossom. So Maxi gets negated, and my opponent can basically do the full Centurion combo into Auxilia, and then Auxilia at the Wake Up, and then Wake Up producing a token, and then Graveyard effect to dump the trap, and then Gargoyle to special summon itself, and then Verte Anaconda? What? I have never seen Verte Anaconda in Centurion before. Okay, now bringing back the Auxilia with reduced attack, and then Mirror Jade, and then in the end phase Auxilia spell trap zoning Primera. Okay, and now I top deck Super Poly, which is absolutely insane. So Super Poly discard Trivikama, making Dragostar Pelia, which get rid of all the interruptions that my opponent could have. So no Crimson Dragon into a level 12 synchro for my opponent. Also, Dragostar Pelia could beat the follow-up from my opponent, but my opponent has the Emmet in the graveyard, which can dodge the Dragostar Pelia negate. Anyways, Pearl into Reinhardt, then Sharon trying to hit an Aqua, which I can put back from my graveyard so that I can keep the Reinhardt on the field. If my opponent doesn't hit the Reinhardt with Imperm, but my opponent hits me with the Coldbar instead, I use the Shuffler because I don't want my Huffness to be under the effect of Cold by the Grave. I could add her back from the banish pile with Crime, so Huffness being banished is not that threatening. Anyways, Redoer, it had Sharon, Fusion Summon into Kid Carlos, and my opponent scoops. Yeah, GG, completely destroyed Centurion. And I'm really happy with that because I hate the deck. It's so Helmet, it's Cancer, just don't play Centurion. Play a deck that takes skill instead. It is not just a one card combo. Boring as hell. Okay, now the next match. And I have Rhino Heart and Pearl Rhino. So that should beat one hand trap at least. And I decided to start with the Pearl Rhino trying to bait out Ash, but I get hit with the Maxi. And it should be still completely fine, because Tearlaments is really strong against Maxi, because I can just make Kid Carlos Salic pass. So here the Rhino Heart resolves, I can make the Kid Carlos. And I decided to use the Rhino Heart from my hand to have more bodies on the field, which increases my survival chance. I get hit with the Imperm on Kid Carlos, but I have the Salic already in the hand. And now my opponent is cooked because I have Salic and the Kid Carlos. So... and my opponent just scooped, because for some reason my opponent probably doesn't have any engine cards, or the only engine that my opponent might have could lose to the Soldic. Yeah, so Ice Barrier probably only one start in the hand, and that doesn't beat Solid Kid Carlos. Alright, now let's go into the next match. Yeah, unfortunately those loading screens take a while. I wish they would load faster. Now I can go first again, and this time I have Sharon and Toughness, which should be Kid Carlos. So I start with the Sharon. Discarding the Halfness, I mill 3 spells and traps, including the Crime. And then I make it Carlos. And we already have the Tear Cache in the hand. Normally my combo would be sending the Tear Cache, but here I just add the Scream instead. And then 3 Karma, add the Pearl Rhino. Then Pearl Rhino, adding the Rhino Heart. Then activating Scream. Then Kid Carlos effect. Special summon the Tear Cache. I could have also used the Tear Cache effect from the hand, but I want to have the mill 5 from Carlos. And now it's mill 5, mill 3, mill 3. So mill 11 in total. 11 cards. This deck is absolutely crazy. And here I hit the Rhino Heart, so I can use the Rhino Heart in my graveyard to special summon Rhino Heart. And I have the Cloud as my normal summon. So making Rukalos first, and now I'm protected against Nibiru. Then is Trudeau on the Rhino Heart. Now normal summon the Clown. And instead of going Baron, I go Cross Sheep first. And now Clown triggers. So I get back the Clown. And I'm on 3k, which is really strong for Psychic and Punisher in my next turn. And then I make Baron and a Cross Sheep points to. And now Cross Sheep bring back the Rhino Heart. And now I overlay into Redoer. Oh no, never mind, I go into Dugaris. Yeah, so Dugaris is actually better here because it allows me to draw 2 cards and now I have a discard for Super Poly. I discard Shadow Beast, which is absolutely huge because now I get another draw and I can make winner during the opponent's turn. Baron pop Scream, now I have the Salik and yeah, I should be able to make Cross Sheep into Rhino Heart after I negated Mathmech Circular from my opponent with the Rukalos. So negate with the Rukalos. Then Rukalos comes back into a Cross Sheep zone. Cross Sheep effect to special summon Rhino Heart. Rhino Heart effect to send Halfness. Halfness make winner during my opponent's turn. And my opponent scoops. Here, Joshua Schmidt, look at this. I completely destroyed Mathmech. Literally bullying Mathmech. Bye bye Mathmech. On to the next game. Alright, so here I had to go second against 60 cards. Yeah, as you can see by the deck of my opponent, probably more than 40 and exactly 60 cards in the deck. So my opponent starts with Mekanko stuff and then Heroic Call, summoning a Heroic Challenger from the deck. And then with 2 Warriors we make Isolde, which is still legal for some reason. But to be honest, Kid Carlos is also legal, so I have no rights to complain about Isolde. Yeah, so Isolde dumping 4 equipped spells, then summoning Infernal Knight OG, and then Phoenix Blade, which can add back itself. I have never seen this card in TCG before, but it's played in Master Duel because Isolde is still legal. And now Mekanko Fire Dance, bringing back the Hari. And then we link summon Promethean Princess. So Promethean Princess, bring back the Riki Ardetio. And then we synchro summon into Angelica. Angelica cancels the museum. And now my opponent can combo even harder with the Infernal stuff. So yeah, museum adding the Randall, and then we can equip the Ogia from the graveyard. Chain Angelica to take out into Roland. So Roland, then equip it, searching the Turpin, and then Turpin can extend. But we go Fire Dance first, remake the Mekango, and then make Charles. So Emperor Charles equip, and then we overlay into Emperor Charles the Great. Yeah, and then we special summon the Synchro from the spell trap zone with the museum, and then we make a second link one. And now my opponent has 2 spell trap negates. In the end phase, Angelica comes back, we can use the effect of the link, which copied the effect from the Synchro and plays Angelica's ring. Now 3 spell trap negates. I decided to start with the reinforcement of the army to bait out the first negate. Alright, now 2 negates remaining. I use talents to force out the second one. And now just Angelica's ring is remaining. But let's read over Angelica's ring carefully. So Angelica's ring says, negate the effect when the card resolves. And when Pearl Rhino activates, we can search a Tearlaments monster, and only this effect is negated by the Angelica's ring, which is huge because I can still keep the other effects of Pearl Rhino, like the pop and the attack boost. So Kid Carlos 1, Pearl Rhino 2 to chain block against Ash Blossom, dumping the Tear Cache. And now popping the museum from our opponent to remove follow-up. And then my opponent equips the Roland from the graveyard to the Emperor, which has Charles' effect. My opponent pops my Kid Carlos, and I'm completely fine with that. Because Kid Carlos' graveyard effect mill 5 and we milled Modora. And now Modora can get rid of the Promethean Princess from my opponent. And now Sharon, discarding Rhinoheart. Rhinoheart comes back, sending the Meta Noise. Meta Noise, add back the Tearcash. And that is Trudeau on the Sharon. And then Tearcash, special summon itself, banish the Salik. So if I mill Grief later in the combo, I can add back the Salik with the Grief. I don't mill Grief here, so I go into Baron. Yeah, I decided to not pop with the Baron yet, because I still want to use Baron in my main phase 2 to pop my own Kaleido Heart. So here I attacked the Angelica, and Angelica had the effect to attack out. And I was completely forgetting that Angelica has this effect. So I misplayed by attacking Angelica. Yeah, so misplay on my side, because I didn't know that Angelica had an effect when she is targeted for an attack. Anyways, Kaleido Heart. So Kaleido Heart spin back the Link 1, which can not be destroyed by card effects, but I can still target the card. And then I misclicked, I attacked with the Baron into the Link 1 from my opponent, when I had the opportunity to go for another attack when I get a replay. Yeah, so I got a replay here, and I decided to attack with the Baron again, which was such a huge misplay. I shouldn't have attacked with the Baron and just attacked with the Kaleido Heart. So Kaleido Heart could have attacked over, and then I have still Baron for the attack. And then in the main phase 2, I had the line Baron, pop Kaleido Heart. Kaleido Heart, send either the Heartbeat to add back the Meta Noise, or send the Grief, add back the Salik. And I think Salik is the better line here, because then I have Kaleido Heart, which can spin, comes back, sends a Geoname, and then I can make Rukalos during my opponent's turn. I get hit with the Sinful Spoils here, but it doesn't really matter, because I can pop my own Kaleido Heart with the Pearl Rhino, and then Kaleido Heart comes back from the Spell Trap Zone. And here is where I messed up, because I was looking for cards with graveyard effects that I can shuffle back with Keldo. And I completely messed up that Riccardietto banished itself. So Riccardietto was no longer in the graveyard, and I spent 20 seconds thinking about the Keldo effect, and that cost me the game, because I lost the time limit. Which is really unfortunate, because it was not over yet. So I still had Kaleido Heart, which comes back, can send a Tearname, and then the Tearname can make Rukalos, and then the opponent still has to beat the Rukalos. And I'm not exactly sure if my opponent would have been able to beat the Rukalos. Yeah, it was so unfortunate I lost this one, because it was actually winnable if I didn't misclick and misplay with the Baron and Angelica. Anyways, but I almost broke the board of Infernable with 3 negates and 2 additional interruptions with just Tear Engine. And this is a great showcase how strong Tearlaments is going second into combo decks. Anyways, next game. And it's a Tear Mirror, so opponent starts with the Modora and then Rhinoheart. Sending the Havness. Make Kid Carlos, and then Kid Carlos add the Crime, for some reason not adding the Salik. I think you should always add the Salik, because it's a strong interruption. Now Rhinoheart, and then Zephyrus, bouncing back the Tearcash. Tearcash, summon itself, banish Fenrir. We already used the effect to mill. And then Appaloosa, Crime Pass. Honestly, this endboard is garbage, and I should be able to beat it. So Havness to bait out the Appaloosa, my opponent uses Keldo instead. Okay, sure, this Trudeau, and now my opponent is basically forced to Aponegate it. But I can go into Typhoon, and now Typhoon is bigger than Appaloosa, can attack over. I could theoretically bounce the Crime from my opponent is in the back row, but it's better for me if I don't bounce the Crime here, because Crime is dead anyways, and if my opponent top decks either the Grief or Foolish Burial, then Crime in the hand could become live, because now my opponent can send Rhinoheart, Rhinoheart can discard the Crime in the hand. So I did not bounce the Crime here, and I won the Tear Mirror. Yeah, honestly the deck from my opponent seems really garbage, so much Gasset is not needed at all. Yeah, just unnecessary gas. The deck is already super strong going first when you can make Baron and Rukalos and Solik. That's usually game against the majority of decks. No reason to play other gas engines like Horus or Zephyrus. And the Appaloosa just lost to a single Typhoon, so yeah. Okay, now I go second, but I have Maxi against another 60 card combo deck. But my opponent has Fenrir and Caught by the Grave in 60 card. Just imagine, Fenrir is limited, Caught by the Grave is semi-limited, and my opponent still open disgusting. Okay. Now Galaxy Tomahawk. Yeah, so Tomahawk. Summoning 5 tokens, so just +5 with 2 level 7s. It's so crazy, this card is still legal in Master Duel. Now we go into Speedride combo. And then excavating the top 5 cards of the deck from my opponent. And my opponent excavate the Rescue Ace Preventer, Mecha Phantom Beast, and Sword Soltaya. I don't know what is in his deck, absolutely crazy combo pile. So now going into the Mecha Phantom Beast and then make Danglong. So Danglong adding the 9 pillars. And then Speedroid, Graveyard Effect to summon another Speedroid, and then we make Yassi here. Okay. Now Synchro Summon into Acel, and then Acel and Danglong, summon the Shiwen, and then my Disparter, and now Pop. Yassi float into Taya, and then we make Omega. Okay. Now Omega, hand rip my talents, sure. Disparter, bring back Omega, hand rip a second card. Why not? And then we shoot her, and we make Baxia. Yeah, and now my opponent has a worm monster to pop for the 9 pillars. Yeah, so popping the bugs here as a young thing, and then before the Rhino gets ashed, I try to bait out the Baron and this part, and then chain Hafness, and if my opponent negates it, I can still normal summon the Hafness. Anyways, using the Typhoon here to bounce back the Disparter, and now opponent has just Baron and Omega. If my opponent doesn't top deck any monster here, it should be survivable for me, but my opponent top deck Dire Bellstar. And if it wasn't for Dire Bellstar, one that posted exactly, it would not be lethal and I would be still in this game. That's so crazy. I played against another 60 card combo deck, my opponent opened everything, and my opponent just won because he opened Dire Bellstar. And it would probably be not lethal without Dire Bellstar. Just look at this pile, so many bricks in this deck. How is this deck ever going to win games going second? Yeah, I can't believe that I lost against this pile, but that's kind of Master Duel. You have those 60 card crazy combo decks that go insane going first, but can't go going second unless they have Maxi against the opponent. Yeah, so kinda tilted that I lost against this shitty deck. Anyways, maybe the next game is a better showcase for Tearlaments. Okay, so here I went first, and I get hit with the Maxi from my opponent. But Perla Rhino, and now I still go Rhino Heart. Without the Maxi, I would probably go Sharon first, but with Maxi, I just go normal some Rhino Heart, Scream, and get Impumped on the Rhino Heart, and now I go Talents Look at my opponent's hand. And in my opponent's hand, there was a Dark Beckoning Beast, Samsara D Lotus, and Spirit of Jubel. That means my opponent had 2 starters, so talents didn't really do anything here, which is kind of disgusting. How can you open such a custom hand? Maxi, which stops my Sharon. Imperm, which stops my Rhino Heart. I don't mill any tier name, and then 2 starters after Talent Sandrip. And now it get even crazier. Now my opponent has Ash Blossom on the mill free from Scream. That means I won't get the mill free from Scream in my opponent's turn, with the potential to mill a tier name and make a Fusion Summon in my opponent's turn. So my opponent goes Yama into Shavara. Then Spirit of Jubel. At the Nightmare Pain, and the Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit at the Grey Squirmer. And then Spirit of Jubel, and then Shavara, pop the Jubel, and then Terror Incarnate, and then we make the Unchained Soul, and then we make Phantom of Jubel, then Grave Squirmer, and then Rage, the Shavara, set a trap. And then Link climbing into Abomination, but I might be still in the game if my opponent doesn't have lethal yet. And it's actually not lethal, so I'm still in the game. In the end phase, pop the Pearl Rhino? Sure. Okay, now draw phase. I top deck the Heartbeat, and I decide to not use the Heartbeat, discard Sharon here, because then my opponent could just use the Phantom, override Sharon, and I lose. So I have to go normal summon Sharon and try to high roll with the Scream. And for some reason, my opponent decides to pop the face down, assuming it could be a Sullik. But it's obviously not a Sullik, because then I would have used Sullik in the previous turn. Yeah, so opponent popped the wrong back row, and it gives me a chance to fight back. Okay, now Yama, Rage, Abomination. But the fact that my opponent popped the Scream gives me a chain block for the Halfness. So Halfness can actually resolve. And the fact that my opponent also popped the Sharon gives me another chain block. So I can go Kid Carlos 1, Sharon 2. And it doesn't really matter that my opponent uses the Kid Carlos as link material here. Because I still get to fusion summon, and I can use the Heartbeat to chain block another time against the Phantom. So I already chain blocked against the Phantom 3 times, and now my opponent has to go SP. But I am turn player, so my chain links would be the first chain links in a new chain. So here I have Kaleido Heart, chain link 1. Spinning back the Phantom, and then chain link 2 Sullik. And here is where I messed up. So the idea was Kaleido Heart chain link 1, Sullik chain link 2, spin back the Phantom. And then my opponent has no longer the Phantom effect to override the additional monster effects. For example, the Halfness when I use Halfness on SP. But I actually forgot that the Phantom is still on the board when SP activates and gives me the opportunity to chain Halfness. Yeah, so I kinda messed up here and I should have searched a different card. Let me explain this one. So if I search the Tearkash here instead of the Halfness, then I had Sharon. Then I can go Sharon 1, Tearkash 2. I could summon this True Loop by targeting the Sharon on my board. And even if my opponent SP banishes my Sharon, I can still make Baron, and then Baron pop one card from my opponent. Anyways, I absolutely misplayed by searching the Halfness instead of Tearkash, and I completely forgot that Phantom of Yubel is still on the board when I get the opportunity to activate Halfness. Yeah, so I absolutely misplayed here, but I was also pretty low on time, like only less than 30 seconds remaining, so I went into Sky Crisis. And now Sky Crisis bounced the Unshade and put my opponent into top deck mode. And now my opponent is in top deck mode, so my opponent has just Phantom, but nothing else. So going for the Phantom, and then some Sarai Lotus. How can you top deck this lucky? So my opponent hit me with Maxi, Imperm, had 2 starters after I hand ripped with Talents. Top decked Ash, which beat my Scream, and then top decked another Samsara Lotus, the best starter after I already broke the board and removed everything that my opponent had. How can you have such a custom hand? Absolutely insane. To be honest, I misplayed, so even though my opponent had a custom hand, this was probably still winnable. I just had to find the line at Tearkash and then Sharon 1, Tearkash 2. Now next game. Another Team Mirror, and my opponent starts with the Pearl Rhino. Then Rhino Heart, W Halfness, and here is where I chain the Maxi. Then Kid Carlos. Adding the Sullik. And then for some reason going for the Sharon under Maxi. So Sharon mill Trivikama. And then Trivikama to add the Scream, now Kid Carlos. Kid Carlos summoning Tearkash, then we get Kid Carlos, Scream, Tearkash. So milling 11 cards. Still pretty decent game progress, even though it plays harder into Maxi. And then going for the Horus Field spell, okay, adding the Imsilty. But no, my opponent messed up, so my opponent should have kept the Meta Knives in the hand as a send for Imsilty, and then we had Imsilty into Sark. Yeah, so my opponent really messed up. I get hit with the Meta Knives on my Fenrir, which is completely fine, because I top deck into another Maxi that I can use on the incoming fusion summon into Rukalos. Now Scream. Then Sullik, okay, sure, no Sharon effect. Then Trickclown, Rhino Heart, Scream. So some Rhino Heart, summon Trickclown, the Tearkash, Sullik, and here I have my Heartbeat against the Sullik from the opponent. So Heartbeat shuffling back the Sullik from opponent. And then I add the Halfness with the Sullik. And then I mill 2 with the Tearkash and then Sharon, but my opponent had Keldo. And this was actually the first card milled in the entire combo. So when I was checking the graveyard after 15 or more mills, I completely missed the Keldo. Yeah, so I tried to get rid of the Rukalos and bait out the Rukalos with my own Tearlaments. Didn't work here. You have to go Redoer and then use the Redoer as a material for SP Little Knight. So yeah, I played it kind of weird because I missed the Keldo in the graveyard and now SP to get rid of the Rukalos. By the way, Rukalos has the effect that other Aqua monsters cannot bite by battle, so I had to get rid of the Tear Cache and leave the Sharon on the board here. Now my opponent sets another card, which is just a dumb misplay. My opponent should have kept the card in the hand for Immensity, then Immensity discard the other card, search the Sark. But anyways, if my opponent played the correct line, that still loses to my crime. So my opponent has the Immensity in the graveyard that he can summon because he has the field spell, which is also treated as Sark. Normal summon Fairy Tail Snow gets hit with the crime, and then crime discard Halfness. And then Halfness effect the Fusion Summon, which would trigger Pearl Rhino and pop one card from my opponent, and it is game, so my opponent scooped. Yeah, I think my opponent completely overcommitted under the Maxi when probably Keldo was already enough. Now, next game. And here I go second against another 60 card deck. But fortunately for me, this time I have Maxi and Maxi Resource, so my opponent can still chain the Quicker Launcher. And then he red decks here, so making the basic 10 by Dragon end board with only one summon under Maxi, which is completely good for me, so I can beat it with ease. So Sharon discard Shadow Beast. Then Scream trying to bait out the Heretics Seal doesn't work, so I get to mill 3 more. I mill the Meta Noise. Meta Noise allows me to add back. And then Scream cancels the crime because I have the Salik already in the hand. Now Tear Cache, Special Summon banishing the Meta Noise, and then mill 3, I mill Grief but don't use it yet because I still want to keep the Grief in my hand as an extender, and I can only use one Grief effect per turn. Okay, this Trudeau gets hit with the Heretic Seal because otherwise I have Baron and Baron can negate the seal. Now the Dragon, which can search Magnamod. And then after I already performed 2 special summons, my opponent hits me with the Maxi for some reason, I don't get it. Also my opponent chains Veiler, which is such a dumb play, because when you resolve your Maxi, you rather want to have the Veiler in your deck as a potential Maxi top deck and not in the graveyard. So I don't get it, my opponent dropped the Veiler here for no reason. Anyways, Grief into Reinhardt, sending the Reinhardt. And now Reinhardt discard the Salik, so I can use the Salik to search another Reinhardt, basically just a normal summon. I think I haven't normal summoned yet. Ah, never mind, I use it from my hand as a material for Kid Carlos. Now Kid Carlos into Sharon, and then Kid Carlos summoning another Sharon. Yeah, it's pretty rare that you see 2 Sharon on the board because this is only possible in Master Duel and not in a TCG or OCG. So I go into Cross Shape here. Yeah, and then into Redoer with those. And then Pearl Rhino pop. Never mind, no Pearl Rhino pop yet. So Redoer. And then Fusion Summon into Kaleido Heart. And then Kaleido Heart can spin, Pearl Rhino can pop. So I'm clearing out both monsters from my opponent. For some reason I misplayed by popping the Magnamod instead of just spinning. I actually want my opponent to top deck a dead Magnamod. Actually, no, I don't want my opponent to top deck Magnamod in the late game if I get nipped on this board. Yeah, so I don't get nipped here, but if I get nipped, Kaleido Heart comes back and I have lethal. Yeah, so pretty easy win if you have Maxi going second against those 60 card piles. Now my last match. So last match before Master 1, I mean Master 5, and I get to go first, which is insane because this deck just FDKs going first. I have Rhinoheart, gets hit with the Ash. Doesn't matter, I have the Grief as an extender. So Grief, Summon Halfness, Send Halfness, Halfness effect to make it colors. And now Kid Carlos, after I already baited the Ash from my opponent. Yeah, so Tear Cache and then Kid Carlos with 8. I don't hit the Sharon here, and I also use the Reinhardt already. That means I cannot use the Reinhardt effect to dump Sharon from my deck. And I look at the hand of my opponent, I see 2 Ice Barrier Engine cards and talents. So I get rid of the talents, and then I have Meta Noise, Crime, and Winner. And Winner should be game. I get hit with the Maxi, but it doesn't really matter. Because I know that my opponent has 2 Ice Barrier Engine cards in the hand remaining, and my opponent has a top deck non-engine with the Maxi, and my opponent gets only 1 draw, and I beat the top deck no matter what it is. So my opponent top deck talents, and I just crime negate the talents, and it's game, because my opponent can't play true Winner with just 2 Ice Barrier Engine cards in the hand right now. And my opponent scooped, and I hit Master 5 with Tearlaments after playing Master Duel for only 2.5 weeks. Ah, this deck is bonkers. Just consider it. I started 2 weeks ago with absolutely nothing, and now I'm in the Master League. Yeah. Tearlaments strongest. And this is how I hit Master 5 in Master Duel, after playing the game for only 2.5 weeks and without spending large amounts of money. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment and subscribe, that helps me a lot. Anyways, see you in the next video, have a nice day, bye!